Wow. Aren't you a vision?
I feel like it's stupid in this.
You look lovely. Perfect for the ascension. Any boys that manage to survive will be lining up to ask you out.
It just isn't me, though.
Not you. Let me tell you something. Nobody knows what you are. Not even you, little Miss Seen It All. The ascension isn't just my day. It's yours, too. Your day to blossom, show the world what a powerful girl you are. I think of what you've done, what I know you will do. No father could be prouder.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Still Slaying, a Buffyverse podcast. I am Penny.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm Kara. This episode, we're going to be discussing Season 3, Episode 21, Graduation Day, Part 1, directed by JW and written by JW, Jane Espenson, and Doug Petrie. The original air date for this episode was May 18th of 1999.
Some alternative titles in other languages for this episode were what translated to The Challenge, first part, in Italian, and The Blood of the Slayer in German. Well, German really likes to give away the, the twist, don't they?
Right? No surprises.
Yeah, I can guess what's going to help.
First up, let's welcome back Sam to the podcast. Sam, thanks for joining us this week.
Thank you so much for inviting me. I'm so excited. I love podcasting with you two. You guys are amazing. I'm so excited.
So nice to have you back.
Yeah, we love having you. And listeners, you may have heard Sam also guesting on Dragoncast recently. If you are a fan of House of the Dragon, you should be listening to Dragoncast if you're not, because it's so good.
They do such a great job. Oh my goodness.
Really good. The hosts are so interesting. Not just their guest hosts like Sam, but the regular hosts are so smart and they have so many interesting things to say. And if you're a fan of Buffy and you also want to smash the patriarchy, I think House of the Dragon has some interesting patriarchy topics to think about.
Yeah, there's some good crossover there.
Yeah, definitely.
Yes.
Sure. Also dragons.
Yeah, I mean dragons. Yeah. Hot people, dragons, fantasy.
Matt Smith.
Yeah.
Like just fantastic wigs. Amazing wigs.
Oh my gosh, I know. Yeah. It's amazing.
It's like the best wigs in Hollywood right now. It's like House of the Dragon. And the costumes. Anyway. This is a Buffy podcast. All right. Let's go back to May of 1999.
Number one song in the U.S. was Livin' La Vida Loca by Ricky Martin. Oh, such a good song. And number one song in the U.K. is Swear It Again by Westlife. I don't think I've heard that one.
Boy band time.
Really? Ooh. Mm-hmm. Best-selling books, We'll Meet Again by Mary Higgins Clark, fiction, and Going Strong Once Again is The Greatest Generation by Tom Brokaw, nonfiction. U.S. box office, number one was The Mummy, the original ones, kids, not the remakes.
So good.
so good. Number two was The Matrix. Again, original one, folks.
Yeah, the first one.
Not the others. Number three was Saving Private Ryan. And number four was the tragedy film Patch Adams. That scarred a lot of us.
That's true.
Just not a good movie.
No. It's just heartbreaking moments that traumatized me, I know, as a 15-year-old. Like, whoa, This is scary. And during the week of May 18th, 1999.
Millennium, the third studio album by the Backstreet Boys, is released. I definitely bought this and was listening to it nonstop on my little Walkman.
Yeah. Was this before or after it skipped when you went for a walk?
No, I had finally gotten one of the non-skip ones.
You were
it was a big
that was
deal.
Some advanced technology in 1999.
Oh,
absolutely.
Yeah. And this, of course, is one of the best-selling albums of all time with over 30 million copies sold. That's funny. I love that. Kenny added a little note. This fact was at the top of every webpage I looked at that summarized events from this date. That's because Millennium is such a big deal.
Yeah.
It is. It is.
For the late 90s, like, I feel like that, and gosh, when did No Strings Attached by NSYNC was a little bit later.
I think it was the following year, and also this was when Britney Spears hit the scene really big. It was a big time for sort of like former Disney Mickey Mouse Club kids.
Yeah, pop music.
Yeah,
it was a great time to be a fifth grader.
Yeah.
Not a great time to be the parents of fifth graders.
No. Great time to be a white woman too.
My mom, that is true.
Yeah,
my mom took me to some fantastic poppy concerts.
Nice.
During this time. Oh gosh.
Also on May 18th, Amazon.com this was huge at the time. They sparked a book price war on the internet by cutting their list price for bestsellers in half. So they just announced, they're like, anything that's on the New York Times bestseller list is 50% off. And BarnesandNoble.com, which was preparing for its upcoming IPO, and they were in sort of a quiet period, they had to match it, and then so did Borders Books. And interestingly, Jeff Bezos was the Time Person of the Year for 1999. Amazon, like, they went from being like, oh, there's this thing where you could buy books on the internet to like, you know, what they are today. And it seemed to happen kind of overnight. It was like, they sell books. Oh, they sell other stuff too. Oh, they're everywhere.
They're everyone. Yeah, Jeff Bezos is an evil person. Dang, is he smart. Or he has people who are really smart that he listens to. Very smart to do that.
Yeah.
And in May 19th, Star Wars Episode 1, The Phantom Menace, came out. It's directed by George Lucas, starring Ewan McGregor, Natalie Portman, and Liam Neeson in theaters.
I remember going to that, and we saw it at the nicest theater in New York City. Oh my God, I cannot remember the name of it now. But it was a scene. There were all these people there who had, people sitting in front of us had all these Star Wars trivia cards, you know, like game cards. And so we ended up playing trivia with them before the movie started. And the movie caught in the film projector and melted in the middle, like in an early scene. And then the lights went up and everybody's like in the theater like, well, now what's gonna happen? And
oh my gosh.
And I went out to the lobby and it was complete chaos in the lobby with people yelling at the like two ushers that were out there, and no other staff was anywhere to be seen. And these two ushers had these huge rolls of free ticket coupons, and they were just handing them out like water.
They're like, dear God, these nerds are attacking.
Yeah, because people were angry.
Oh yeah, you don't mess with us.
Yeah.
No, not nerds, not opening night. No.
Yeah, and then
that's taking your life into your own hands.
Yeah, and then eventually they were like, "Hey, we're ready. It's going to start again." And you know, everybody went back in the theater. And then at the end of the movie, there were people in the lobby handing out those free ticket vouchers, one per person. And I was like, "Well, I already got about 14 of them, but I'll take one more."
They're like, we'll just keep throwing this at them to keep them at bay. Like we're wild animals they're throwing food to. Like, here, not me. Tickets, here.
It was so funny. The movie itself, but the experience of seeing it was super fun.
Yeah, mine was not nearly as exciting. I just went to go see it in the theater, front row seat, and I saw that movie 4 times
Wow.
because I'm a giant nerd.
Was this right around the time that they re-released the originals in theaters? Do you remember when that was?
Yes,
Yeah.
they did, like, I think a year or 2 before, right?
Yeah, it was
Penny?
right before.
Because that was my first exposure to
Same.
Star Wars. My dad still has, to this day, has not seen a Star Wars movie. So when they re-released all of them in theaters, my mom and I went and in one day saw all 3.
Wow.
And I was hooked.
Yeah.
I was just
Well,
like,
I
you
mean,
have been keeping
they like
this
held
from
you
me?"
hostage for 12 hours.
And also, you were what, like 10 years old? You're the perfect age.
Yeah. Exactly. I was 10 and I was just like, Dad, you have to watch these movies. And still, he will not watch them.
All right.
He has watched Harry Potter, though, so I won that.
There you
Good
go.
for you.
Yeah, you got him. You got him on a little bit.
Yeah. A little bit. And then, let's see, May 16th, crime in the U.S. falls for the 7th consecutive year. The FBI reported violent and property crimes each dropped 7% in 1998, which was the largest annual drop since the beginning of a downward trend in 1992. Oh, the 90s.
When crime wasn't rampant.
On May 17th, Sonia Gandhi steps down. She resigned as president of India's Congress Party after colleagues said she should not be prime minister because she was born in Italy. She was the widow of former Prime Minister Rajiv Gandhi. And then on May 25th, after an outpouring of support from her party, Gandhi triumphantly withdrew her resignation.
See, people, we can have a female president.
Yep.
I was gonna say.
May 17th, Labour Party wins in Israeli election. Ehud Barak, party leader, elected as prime minister. Voters reject leader of 3 years, Benjamin Netanyahu. Boy,
It's kind of appropriate
this is
right
why
now.
I always say, like, the
when we
late
rejected him.
90s was like the best time. Like, there was this general trend leftish in the world, and then after 9/11, everything went downhill.
Yeah.
Good time. Great times. Then on May 18th, Japan steps up and bans child pornography, and Parliament would also outlaw child prostitution in a victory for international law enforcement officials.
Yeah, about time.
It took them that long.
1999.
Like,
child prostitution.
on.
All right, guys. All right. On May 20th, the Senate, in a 73-25 vote for gun control measures, approved the juvenile crime bill, including requirements for safety locks and background checks on purchasers of firearms at gun shows. The so-called gun show loophole, which is sort of back. Vice President Gore was a key factor in breaking some of the deadlocks on the bill. This is when he was, running for president and in the news all the time.
This news is kind of hurting my feelings. Nothing that you did, Penny.
Yeah.
It's more of like, remember how we used to be?
Exactly. Yeah.
30 years later, or right back around.
Well, remember in The Matrix how the machines are like, we have humans perpetually living at the end of the 20th century because that's when the humans are the happiest? I'm like, yeah, that was.
Yeah.
That was when I was the happiest. Like, the late 90s were the best time.
Wow, it seems like it. Yeah, Matrix. Oh, come on, there's a glitch here. We're in 2024.
Yeah, fix it.
Yeah, let's go back. May 21st.
Stop.
I know. Make it stop. On May 21st, All My Children star Susan Lucci finally wins a Daytime Emmy after being nominated 19 times. The longest period of unsuccessful nominations in television history. Did people just not like her? Like this, I mean, it must have been a running gag after like the 5th one she didn't get.
Yeah, I mean, it was a topic of conversation on like late night talk shows and Good Morning America and the Today Show. Like, every year they'd be like, Susan Lucci's nominated again. Will this be the year? And when she won in 99, lots of people were like, what? It's the end of a tradition. Like, what's happening?
Oh my gosh.
It's not how this goes.
How many times was Leonardo DiCaprio nominated before winning an
It was a
Oscar?
lot. I don't remember the number,
Yeah.
but he was
I don't
another one that
remember
people
either.
were like, is he ever going to win? I mean,
Yeah,
you know,
I
say whatever
know.
you want to say about his personal life. As an actor, he really is fantastic.
Yeah,
This is true.
this is very true. Yeah.
I caught
He
a
is
little
good.
bit of Catch Me If You Can the other day. Is that what it was called?
I love that movie.
And
yes.
and I was like, oh my God, he was really good in this too. Like, I had sort of
Mhm.
forgotten about his early stuff, and he was so good.
Yeah. And in Growing Pains, I had the biggest crush on him.
That's funny.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah.
really funny.
Between Romeo and Juliet and Titanic, I mean,
God, yeah.
and then the boy bands came in. I mean, there was definitely an aesthetic going on.
Yeah. For me, I was
That floppy hair.
I sort of fell for him in Basketball Diaries, which tells you a lot about my type. And I know it's not good. It's not good. But his acting in What's Eating Gilbert Grape was some of the most amazing acting I had ever seen up to that point. And I was like,
broke my heart.
I was like, I don't know. Like, I don't even understand how he's accomplishing this. Like, it was so beautiful. That movie was painful and beautiful
It
and
was.
intense and
Mm-hmm.
a lot. It was a lot.
That's a good one.
Yes, so good.
Speaking of painful and intense, let's get into Graduation Day Part 1.
Oh,
I, first of all, got real nostalgic about the yearbook scene, and I found my old high school yearbook, and I flipped through it, and I was like, I'm only in 2 pictures in this entire yearbook. I was pretty offended by that. I was on the yearbook staff, so yeah.
I actually have my 5th grade yearbook in the other room. I should look at
You had
that.
a 5th grade yearbook? Wow.
Oh yeah, we had elementary school, middle school, and high school.
Wow.
Wow.
I all have them. They're all in a stack.
We had middle school,
Yeah.
we had middle school yearbooks, definitely, but I don't think elementary school ones.
They're very small.
I was also on the yearbook committee, and they didn't put me in any pictures.
Oh,
So I mean, I was a ginormous nerd. Like I was on yearbook committee, I was in choir, like we didn't have a band. I would have been in that too. But they didn't put me in any of them. And I think the teacher that was in charge of the yearbook committee was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." I'm like, "That's okay."
Yeah.
Except for my senior picture, of course. But like, everyone else had like tons of pictures because you could stack the deck.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that tracks.
I love the scene where Harmony gets Willow to sign her yearbook, and Willow's like, "Oh, I'll miss you," and then Buffy's like, "Well, here, I have it."
I hope we don't lose touch.
No, we'll hang out.
Bye.
Bye. Oh, I'm gonna miss her.
Don't you hate her?
Yes, with a fiery vengeance. She picked on me for 10 years. The vacuous tramp. It's like a sickness, Buffy. I'm just missing everything. I miss PE.
I think it's contagious. The whole senior class is turned into the 60s, or what I would have imagined the 60s would have been like, without the war and the hairy armpits.
You don't feel it?
No, I don't. I mean, I guess I'll miss stuff, but I just don't get the whole graduation thing. I mean, you get a piece of paper and nothing changes. I don't even think I'm gonna go.
Oh, trusty soda machine. I push you for root beer. You give me Coke.
I was Willow. Suddenly we all became best friends, and I'm like, you put gum in my hair in 10th grade.
Yeah.
But we all became that. The KIT. Keep in touch.
I did not. I was like, I remember who was a jerk and who wasn't, and I have no need to have the yucky people sign my yearbook. I have my own
Yeah.
friends. I went to a pretty
Nice.
small high school, so everybody knew each other. It wasn't like there was like
Same.
big cliques or anything, and there was lots of overlap. But there were
How
definitely
big was
high school
y'all's
people.
graduating class?
Mine was 118.
Oh my
Ooh.
God.
Mine was 84.
Ooh, small. Yeah.
Yeah, we were a private school. The only reason I could go is because my mom worked there.
Oh, that's nice. Mine was 581.
Yeah.
Holy moly!
Yeah.
That's so
Went
big.
to a giant Texas school, Texas public school. And I remember, oh gosh, actually, I think this song came out around the same time as this episode was popular, but in the Hills, which aired as I was, I think, a junior and a senior in high school, they played that Vitamin C graduation song.
That was mine when
And-
I graduated in 2003.
Yes,
that's
Yep,
funny.
Yep.
and it just like kept resurging, and I think the Hills made it a little more popular. And I remember like my friends and I hearing that song either on the radio while we were driving, or people putting it on intentionally just so everyone could cry
Yeah.
and talk about how
Yes.
much we were gonna miss each other. And now I'm just like,
Yeah.
oh God.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like, oh god, that time.
So
I
special.
was so ready to leave high school. I was like,
Oh, I was
bye. Like, I was just,
Yeah.
leave high school, leave my home, go
Yep.
to New York City. I was like ready. Of like, oh no.
yeah, it was like, get me. I can't wait to leave New Hampshire. Like, I gotta go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
I did enjoy the nostalgia thing, and I do get it. Like,
Yeah.
especially the soda machine thing is so funny because it's so
That was
specific.
cute.
And there are
Yes,
there are
it-
things like that about like my hometown that sometimes I still am like, oh, I remember that, like this
Yeah.
quirky thing or this silly little thing that was just very my
Yeah.
hometown. Doesn't make me want to go
Mhm.
back there, but
No,
it-
no.
I do have like
No.
mild nostalgia about it. There's like certain restaurants and there's this parking
Yeah.
lot where we all used to hang out all the time. And whenever I
Mhm.
would be in that town and I would drive past there, I'd be like, oh, I wonder if high school kids still hang out in this parking lot.
I know.
That's
Or the
fun.
malls. The malls were big when I was like around this time when the episode came out. Of apparently kids don't hang out in malls that much anymore. But
Malls
I'm like,
are sort
"Geez,
of
that was the only
dying,
pastime."
which
Yeah.
is so interesting to me. I worked at the mall. I had a
me
very
too.
cliche job. I worked at the Gap.
Oh my
I
gosh, you
love
were the
it.
cool kids.
I was not cool until I worked at the Gap, and then like popular kids would come in and be like, "Oh, you work here?" And like suddenly they knew
Oh
my
my
name and
God.
stuff because they would ask me to
Mhm.
help them shoplift.
Jesus
I thought you were gonna say discount, but actually that tracks.
And I'd be like, "Why would I do that? We're not even friends." And like, I'll get fired.
Jeez.
Like, no. Why?
Oh my god, the audacity.
Yeah.
Like the audacity of like
insane.
risk your job and commit crime with me, person. I don't even know.
Person
your
I'm
last
not
name.
nice to ever until
Yeah.
today. Yeah.
Exactly. Too bad you didn't do it and like set them up to get caught.
Yeah, I wasn't that devious at the
Be like
time.
diabolical.
Sabotage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I did catch someone shoplifting once. I was
Ooh.
Ew.
I was just, doing whatever I was doing as a sales associate, and I found this guy at the back of the store. He had a bag, and he was like crouched down on the floor, just like shoving jeans into a bag.
What?
And I was like, "Can I help you?" And he was like, "No, I'm all set." And he like grabbed the bag and started to run out. And I was like, "He's
Like,
stealing."
I bet you are.
Yeah, I know. It's like what?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
I don't know how he thought he was going to get out. It was super conspicuous. He had this like giant bag. I was like, "What are you doing?"
Yeah. Is it that like the confidence thing? Like if you just act confident, you'll get through it or something.
Maybe. I don't know. There was a lot of stuff that I encountered as a teenager working at the Gap that widened my eyes to the world at large.
That makes
The number
sense.
of people that thought it was like cool to have sex in the dressing rooms.
I was gonna say, what did people do in dressing rooms?
I mean,
Oh my gosh.
also the number of people that stuck their gum to the sides of the dressing rooms. Like, seriously? Like, were you raised in a
Why?
barn? I don't.
Yeah, I was never this person.
I never
I don't know.
understood it. I was like, I've never stuck my gum anywhere that wasn't like a trash receptacle. I don't
Yeah.
understand the entire phenomenon of gum like under tables and
Well, some people are assholes, Penny.
oh right.
It's just like, and by some people, I feel like
Most people.
I know. I know.
We're so cynical.
Well, it's so
Oh, yes.
true. It's like the more you learn about humanity, the more you're like, ooh.
Yeah.
Seriously.
Yeah.
We're great and
Like,
awful.
Yeah. Gross.
I remember telling my mom that I was a misanthrope in like, I don't know, 8th grade. And she's like, do you even... Yeah, and she's like, do you even know what that word means? And I was like, why do you think I'm using it, Mom? Like, yes, I know what it means. And I would always talk about being cynical. And last year, she goes, you know, I think I'm with you now. I think I'm a misanthrope. I understand. And I was like, well, I'm very sorry that you've arrived.
Yeah, sorry.
It's not exactly a fun way to be like,
No.
humanity sucks.
No.
It's like, oh, but then every time you look outside, you're like, yep, there they are sucking. Like,
yeah,
I'm a realist.
It's like, yeah, no, they're
Is
they're
it
dumb.
cynicism if it's realistic and you keep being proved right? Like,
Yeah, it's
like,
it's the research is like something about how pessimists are actually more in touch with reality.
yeah.
And optimists are the ones that help propel people to essentially get up and do stuff every day. Of like, you need hope, otherwise. But it's like, it's like pessimists are actually more accurate to what's going on. Unfortunately,
But they're also
we all just balance each other
self-defeating,
out.
right?
Yes.
You need a little bit of
Yeah.
delusion if you're gonna accomplish great things. Like, you have to be a little bit
Great point.
like cuckoo.
That's true.
If you're gonna do something like gigantic, you have to have a certain amount of just obliviousness to the odds or to reality. And some people succeed and some people accomplish great things, and we can't all be those people. But
True.
yeah, I guess I'm more of a pessimist than an optimist.
For me, it depends on the day. Depends on what humanity has handed me that day.
Yeah, I have a friend who recently was encountering something absolutely horrific at her workplace, and she was like, "Oh, I'm just too sensitive because now I'm really upset." And I was like, "No, you're not too sensitive. Your reaction is completely reasonable and appropriate to the circumstances.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like, don't beat yourself up about the reaction." And she's like, "Oh, I didn't think about it that way." And I was like, yeah, the reaction you're having is uncomfortable and you don't want to feel that way, but it's not the wrong reaction. You're not crazy. You're not like biologically off center. Like, this is the appropriate response. I don't know if it helped her.
I like to I like to say, like, and I swear it's like almost like half my job is saying like that's a normal reaction to an abnormal situation.
Yeah.
Yeah, my therapist says that to me a lot.
Like, I would agree. I would concur. Mine does too.
Yeah.
She's like, I do the same thing. It's like, yeah.
Oh, good. I'm not the crazy person in this scenario.
No, unfortunately. That's usually not our patients. It's usually everyone else.
That's true. The number of people that I talk about in therapy that refuse to get therapy or think it's a joke, I'm just like, this tracks.
Yeah, they're the ones who need it.
Exactly.
Like Faith.
Talk about Faith.
Faith made a very big choice in this episode.
Yeah, she did.
She needs so much therapy.
Faith has layers and layers and layers of problems.
Trauma. So much.
But it makes for great TV, right? Like, I would not want Faith to be in my life as like a friend.
No.
But
she's
so fun to watch on screen. She's unpredictable. She's erratic. She's impulsive. She's gorgeous. All of this makes for a great TV character.
Yes.
Her relationship with the mayor is
I know.
charming even though they're both murderers, it's still like, aw, he treats her like the daughter he never had. Like, there's,
I know.
Oh yeah.
there's a part of you
She
that
comes out.
wants her to be loved by him, and it's like weirdly a little bit healing for her, but he's a monster. Like, it's so strange.
I know.
It's awful. But
I know.
I do love the scene of her coming out in that little pink sundress, and he's all complimentary and not in a creepy way.
No.
Like, it does seem very much like fatherly in the way that he's like, look at you. And she's like, yeah, it's not really my style. And he's just like, now hold on. Like, wait a minute.
Yeah.
And he builds her up a little.
Yeah, you don't even know who
like,
you are yet. You're only 18 or whatever. Like, he
Yeah.
calls her Little Miss Seen It All. And it's like, he knows her. He wants good things for her. You know, he wants her to heal. He wants her to be a whole person. And yet he also is like, go murder someone for me. Like, it's
his version of a healed person.
it's so weird.
Yeah, I got so distracted during that scene because Eliza Dushku came out, and it fit for the scene for her to be barefoot. Like, it showed her softness, the vulnerability, her comfort in being soft and vulnerable around him, even though she's like wearing like something that doesn't match with her toughness and her being on guard. But then I remembered that JW has a preference for women to be without footwear in his TV shows and movies, and now it's just weird.
Ew.
Especially since she's supposed to be a teenager. I know she's 18, but she's a child.
Yeah. That is an appropriate thing, because there's no way that Faith owns a pair of shoes that would go with that dress.
Yes, exactly.
Right.
Like, it fits the scene.
She's like combat
100%.
boot girl all the way.
Yes,
and
100%.
And maybe some like sexy like knee-high boots, not like
although
strappy sandals.
Wearing combat boots with that dress would have been very 90s.
Well,
like,
she would have needed fishnets and like one of those ribbon chokers.
Ooh, that would have been great.
Yeah, it would have been. It could have been
cool.
a very 90s look. You're right.
That would have been amazing.
It could not have been a less Faith dress. It wasn't sexy.
I know.
It wasn't pink aggressive. It was like this delicate pattern, and the fabric was delicate, and the color was so soft. And
I know.
I loved that she was uncomfortable in it. I thought it was really an amazing scene of their whole relationship, and the way that he saw things in her that nobody else saw, and that he could get things out of her that nobody else could get out of her. Can you imagine if Wesley had given her that dress?
Oh, no
He would
way.
have thrown it in his face, been like, no, fuck you, you know?
Rightfully so.
Yeah. Or like if Buffy had tried to like lend her some of Buffy's clothes, she would have been like, it's not really for me, B. You know, she just wouldn't.
Yeah.
She wouldn't have done
Can't
that.
be vulnerable.
But with the mayor, because he believes in her in a way that no one else does, she's able to show that side of herself, even though she's clearly uncomfortable about it.
Well, and she clearly trusts him. Like, she's all in with him. And I mean, she's willing to kill, no questions asked, for him at this point. And we talked in detail about her killing the deputy mayor by accident, really.
Yeah, that was not an intentional murder.
Yeah.
But this,
and if this was, and you know, I think it's interesting that they kept the parallel of her stabbing him, and we talked about it last time when we talked about her killing the deputy mayor, like how personal the act of stabbing someone
it's up
is.
close.
Yeah.
And this one, like, she interacts with him, he lets her in, and she takes advantage of that trust. Like, he sees her, he assumes she's a student, you know, tells her to come back for office hours, and she didn't even seem to hesitate before stabbing him.
No, she's like,
oh, Faith,
turn around.
Like,
and then he says, I'll scream, and she's like, who wouldn't? Like, she's so casual about it.
It's chilling. So like closed off, And it's so just it's almost like she's resigned herself to like, this is my identity and I have someone who supports me in this identity and is there for me. And it's just kind of chilling to watch, especially if you know her character arc.
Yeah.
And it's just sort of like, wow, you really had to compartmentalize and shut things down, huh?
Yeah.
In order to be able to do this.
Completely dissociated from what's happening in front of her. I mean, that Lester guy couldn't have been more harmless and sweet, right?
Yeah.
Right.
He's just like this academic, nerdy guy who's like, oh, the mayor's interested in my research, you know?
I know.
And I thought it was an interesting choice to not show us the actual act of her and his reaction. You just hear it, which is almost worse, you know, because your imagination and all that was just like, Faith is almost fully gone now. And you know, I just think about everything that led up to that moment, and Buffy kind of, you know, we talked about how Buffy was the one willing to hang on the longest and have hope and faith still that Faith could turn it around. And in this episode, it's kind of, you know, the point of no return almost, especially when you think about how it's paralleled with Buffy stabbing Faith at the end.
And how that affected Buffy in the moment. She went there to kill Faith, and still when she did it, she was like horrified by it. The only humans that Buffy has killed up to this point are Gwendolyn Post in the episode what's it called, Revelations. And she doesn't try to kill Gwendolyn. She cuts off Gwendolyn's hand because she's got the glove on, and then the lightning kills Gwendolyn. So she didn't knowingly kill her. And there's another time when she causes a human death, but it's another time when it's not super intentional.
What if the homecoming episode?
She sets up the two hunters and they kill each other. Yeah.
Right? So technically, like, she's been responsible for human deaths, but not at all.
She hasn't gotten her hands dirty.
Yeah, not like Faith did. So when she stabs Faith, fully intending to stab her, knowing she's a human, knowing that you know she might kill her with this stab wound, it's like a sea change for Buffy. Like, she's never experienced anything like that before, and you can see it on her face. And she was so determined. I mean, she went to that apartment fully ready. I mean, Faith says, look at you all dressed up in Big Sister's clothes, but like, she's put on the leather pants.
I love that line.
You know, she's become, those pants would go on to be real iconic for Buffy, but this is, I think, the first time we see them.
What is that saying? Dress for the job you want, not the job you have. So she's like, I'm gonna dress like Faith, the killer.
Get in that mind.
And then the handcuff thing, like, she's like, I'm not letting you get away from me. Like, she was determined, but then the actual act of doing it was brutal for her.
Yeah.
But at
their
the same
dynamics
time,
are fascinating.
She's doing it because of her love for Angel. And because Faith didn't really give her much of a choice. Like, Buffy's still not going after Faith and killing her because it would be the convenient thing to do.
No, it's only because she's been pushed into this corner, and it's the only option she sees. And I love that Xander has, every now and then Xander has these moments of clarity, and he says to Buffy, I don't want to lose you. And she's like, oh, Faith won't kill me. And he's like, that's not what I meant.
I know. It was such a good line.
Brilliant.
So insightful.
Such a good line.
You know, he knows the difference between killing a demon and killing a human. And he knows that it's going to destroy Buffy. You know, they didn't talk about it, but they all remember when Buffy thought she had killed Ted and Ted was human, what she went through. You know, and it almost destroyed her. And, you know, it turned out he was a robot and she got over it. But that was a horrible experience. Nobody wants to see her go through it again.
Yeah, I
No.
mean, Giles points out that Faith has her at a disadvantage, and Buffy names the exact reasons. She's like, I'm not crazy, and I don't kill people.
Right.
Like, yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. That those are significant things to not have when you're dealing with someone who does do those.
Yeah.
Oof.
Going head to head with that
True.
person. Amazing.
Yeah, it's like that's, kind of being like, okay, now I have to get down to her level. I just this whole episode, I just love Buffy and Faith's relationship. Like whether it's platonic, romantic, familial, a mix of all the above, it
Yeah.
remains one of the most complex dynamics on the show, and it's so fascinating to watch these two. Like
Mhm.
their humanity comes through in the messiness and everything, and I just love it. I think they're fantastic when they're on screen together too.
Yeah, there's so much chemistry between them.
Yeah, so good.
Rewatching it as an adult and then an adultier adult at 36, I now completely understand why people thought there was some sort of, romantic chemistry between Buffy and
Oh,
Faith.
tons.
Yeah, I totally see it.
I can't
Yeah.
unsee it. I'm like,
Yeah.
there's so much sexual tension between those two.
Yeah.
Exactly.
It's insane.
I get a feeling if it was released in 2024, maybe the television networks would be brave enough to
Oh,
have
yeah.
them have a relationship.
Or at least
Because it's like,
a kiss or
yeah.
something. I mean, Faith says, give us a kiss, and then Buffy punches her
I
in the face,
know.
which is perfect.
That's how Faith flirts.
Yeah.
But I would have loved to see an actual kiss. Like, it would have been,
Yeah.
I don't know, that might have changed the entire trajectory of my sexuality as an adult.
Yeah. That seems fair.
It would have been incredibly hot, and
If the Mummy didn't do it, then Faith and Buffy.
Accurate. Welcome to the other side.
yeah, it would have been amazing,
man.
and I think they wanted to go there. There's certainly been there's like trivia and stuff on the internet that says that sometimes there was more written into the scripts and that the network didn't let them go forward with it.
Yeah,
I
makes sense.
They were
There's been
okay
more-
with a side character being gay, but
Yeah.
a primary
Only if it was
character,
a woman.
yeah, that's why it was Willow. But having their main character even hint at being bisexual was not okay. And this was also the era of people who are bisexual are the bad guy, right? This is like
Oh yeah.
what was that Sharon Stone movie that was so big? Basic Instinct was around this
Oh,
time.
yeah.
Mhm.
And it was all like, oh, she's bisexual, that means she's got loose morals, like
Yeah.
that. Bisexuals were like that was code for bad guy for a long time in movies and TV. And I am a big fan of a later WB series or CW series called The 100. And
Yes.
that show had
so good.
a main
Clark.
character who is bisexual,
Clark.
and they don't even ever talk about it. She just is. It's no big deal.
It's wonderful.
And it's so great. She just is bisexual. She just has relationships with both men and women, and like nobody bats an eye.
That's it.
I love so many things about that show. It's
so good.
The women are
So
leaders,
good.
men are leaders, like
I
black
know.
people are leaders, white people are leaders, Asian people are leaders, like everybody.
It's a very everyone seems queer on the show.
Yeah, it's a weirdly
just openly open.
It's a weirdly
fantastic.
utopian view of society, even though it's the most dystopian, like horrible post-apocalyptic world they live in. But
yes,
they go through more crap on that show than the Walking Dead characters.
Oh yeah, I mean,
it's like
they really
one thing
do.
after another.
So that's what we need to do in this world to give people a chance to just exist.
Yeah.
If they have different ways other than the majority and everything is apparently we need to have like
a nuclear
more
apocalypse.
apocalyptic events.
Yeah.
It's like, remember, this isn't that important. Let people live, and oh yeah, that's right, because we have to fight to live.
Yeah.
It's like, yeah,
Yeah.
everyone does now.
If I had all the time in the world, I would love to podcast about The 100 because I think it's a fascinating show.
Yeah.
And
so good.
it has so many fun sci-fi themes that I enjoy. Like there's a whole bioethics storyline. There's an AI storyline. There's
redemption stories, Murphy.
Yeah,
like,
space
everything.
exploration.
Murphy.
Yeah.
Murphy. It ends kind of dumb.
Oh, I
will
hate
say.
the last season. I hate it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There was a lot behind the scenes that was interesting, and their writer-director was very problematic from what multiple staff people have said.
A little bit of reincarnation
of JW.
happening.
Yeah. Unfortunately, there was a lot of rumors for that. But hey, we got Alicia Debnam Carey left 100 to go be in Fear, which was great for like 3 seasons.
God, she was really great in The 100. I think I had a crush on her.
Oh yeah,
just a smidge.
Yeah. I mean, she's such an amazing character on the show. All right, we are digressing. Let's get back to Buffy.
If
other
you like Buffy,
powerful
like
blonde characters.
That's true. If you like Buffy, you will like The 100. It's the first few episodes of season 1 can be a little bit of a turnoff because it feels a little teen romance drama in the first few episodes, but it starts getting good right away. Like, you just
hang in there.
Yeah, hang in there, because the first few episodes are kind of like, ooh, I like this boy, and you shouldn't like him at the same time as me, and like whatever. But they get past that, and then it gets good.
I know.
So back to Buffy, and of course I have some sound clips that I want to share with you all. So I thought, how about this one? I love the scene where Giles and Wesley are fencing, and Wesley is like all in, and Giles is reading the paper.
Oh, yeah.
I have that down
so
to one of my notes.
Casual.
It was so hot.
The mayor wanted the good professor out of the way.
Which leads to the question, how come? I'm gonna destroy the entire city, but I take the time to kill harmless Lester first.
Tying up loose ends? Lester had something or knew something.
Then I want to know too. The mayor's trying to hide. I say we go seek.
By attempting to keep a valuable clue from us, the mayor may have inadvertently led us right to it.
What page are you on, Wes? Because we already got there.
I like how Wesley mansplained to both Buffy and Giles.
Yeah, and they both look at him like, oh. Like, just
like, we just said that.
Yeah.
little buddy.
Thanks for the summary, Wesley. We're good.
We're good here.
And Giles just casually holding his own against Wesley's, epee attack.
Oh my gosh.
So funny.
So hot.
Yeah. Very hot, sexy Giles. Very dorky Wesley. And just
love it.
Hilarious.
Love it. Ernest Wesley.
And I love any scene where we get to see that Buffy isn't just good at fighting, right? Like, she's smart, and she doesn't have a lot of security in herself about like academic smarts, but
she should at this point.
She is
get into Northwestern.
She is clever.
She's clever,
and she understands. Yeah, seriously, she understands the way people work, and she immediately is like, "This is Faith. This is how she would kill someone." I recognize the brushstrokes, the whole thing.
The blood.
That's a good line.
And when she's sassy to Wesley, I never get tired of Buffy sass.
I know. I love it.
It's so good. Wesley has it coming.
Yeah, 100%. And like what you were describing, Penny, is like when the mayor walks in, she casually, like she thinks to hide the newspaper with the murder, and like casually hides it out of eyesight.
Yeah.
And like, yes,
smooth.
like there's so much intelligence going on here.
Yeah.
Speaking of when the mayor walks in.
Oh yeah.
I still remember my stomach dropping the first time I watched that on TV.
Yeah.
It scared the hell out of me watching him walk in.
So there's an amazing music cue when he walks in.
Oh.
Yep.
This is the inner sanctum.
Yep.
Oh, it made my stomach drop again.
Yeah.
I got goosebumps. I got goosebumps.
It was like, oh no.
Yeah. That music intro of him is like, ah! Like it's so horrible.
so
and then
good.
it's such a great scene. He's such a jerk.
Yes.
And he's like,
Yes.
and then Giles stabs him, which God, doesn't everyone want to stab somebody when they're being a jerk? It's so great.
Yes.
I have that.
Giles stabbed them for us.
That's one spunky little girl you've raised.
Ugh, I'm gonna eat her. Ugh.
I'm gonna eat her. Whoa!
Gosh, I love this character.
Violent outbursts like that in front of the children. You know, Mr. Giles, they look to you to see how to behave.
Gosh.
That's fair. That's smart.
So good.
So good.
I love the mayor.
Some of your deaths will be quick. If that's worth anything. Well, see you all at graduation. You don't want to miss my commencement address. It's going to be one heck of a speech.
Great Buffy soundtrack action there. That music is so stressful.
No, it is. It's so good. And yeah, the actor is fantastic. And I love the duality of that character.
Yeah.
And it was something, Kara, when you were saying like your stomach dropped when he walked in, and I definitely think it was part of the music. And I remember watching it. I didn't realize it at the time, but I remembered it watching this time. We as the audience know something about this character that they don't. They figured out that he was immune to harm or something until the graduation, I think, but they didn't see that. Like, we'd seen that before, but then you can see it on their faces when Giles stabs him in the chest, and everyone's like,
just like, oh shit.
And then he just like his reaction, whoa.
He's like, whoa.
Like it's like, not even just that it doesn't kill him, like it barely even phases him. He's like, what an annoyance. You've ripped my shirt, you know?
Yeah, and Giles is like, oops, I shot my shot and in the heart, and still didn't matter. And it was like, oh boy.
Yeah.
Like, he is a very big threat to our people. And I just like how he talks about the children and caring about the children.
Yeah.
And it's like,
because he's also so wholesome, you know, the milk instead of whiskey in the decanter. Like, it's like a Leave It to Beaver character plucked from that show and dropped into this demonic universe.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. I've seen this actor Harry Grainer in, you know, numerous other roles. He was big in the 90s and early 2000s. He popped up on lots of shows, and I very recently rewatched an episode of Charmed that he's in, and he usually plays either a good guy or like a neutral person. And I think this role must have been like the role of a lifetime for him. Like, first of all, he's like a seriously main character on a show that was super popular at the time.
Yeah.
And it must be so fun to play this combination of maniacal, evil, and wholesome. And you know, he has some of the funniest lines. He has great entrances and exits. Like, he's the star of season 3, and that's up against Faith.
Yes.
You know?
I know.
It's amazing.
So good.
So good.
So good.
It's so good.
Yes.
There's just so much tension in that scene.
Yes.
And it's so juicy. Like,
I know.
all of them do such a good job. Obviously, the music contributes, but the looks on all of their faces, it's just, it's so well played.
Yeah.
And the audacity of him strolling into the library in the first place.
Yeah, that's a great point.
Part of what catches you off guard. It's like, he feels invincible. He's practically invincible, but he's getting a little cocky.
Yeah, and he goes into their safe spot. Like, I mean, we know bad stuff happens in the library. It's over the Hellmouth. But, like,
Yeah.
that's where our Scoobies meet up. Like, that's their place. Remember, like, when the kids walked in, they're like, what are you doing in the library?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
Like, this is their
Poor Jonathan.
sanctuary. And then here comes the
Get the
evil
hell out.
infecting it. Like, you're not supposed to be allowed in here.
Well, it's like a giant FU. Like, he's
Yeah.
playing mind games with them,
Oh,
essentially.
100%. Like, purposefully riling them up.
And trash talking. You know, like
Yeah.
it's like in Bring It On when they're like when the Clovers go to the Toros game and they cheer in the stands. It's that same kind of thing where they're
Yeah.
just like,
So good.
we're coming for you.
Yeah, it's like, we own you now.
Yes. Yeah. It's like, oh, that movie. But yeah,
We will be
it's such a
covering
good
Bring It
scene.
On this podcast.
Yeah.
You should have Jason do it. I think that would be great feedback.
That would
Just
be
having
fun.
Jason watch it and being like,
But I
what do you
want
think?
us to start, like, I still remember that entire opening cheer
Yep.
from memory. I need him to sit and
Yes! That would be amazing.
that's all.
I
Like,
would love
just
that.
keep going and going. It's
Um,
a classic.
so one of the things in the episode that like really resonated with me, and I didn't realize it until I was watching it for the pod, is Buffy ending her toxic relationship with the Watcher Council.
Yes.
Oh,
You
yes.
know I hate the council.
Yeah.
I hate them.
I do too. It was like truly epic, and it landed with me as an adult
Uh-huh.
in 2024 different than it ever had in the past. And I even like texted Penny. I was like, can you record the audio for this? It's amazing.
Like, yes, please.
And you know I have it. So here, let's listen.
It's not council policy to cure vampires.
Did you explain that these were special cells?
Not under any circumstances, and yes, I did try to convince them.
Try again.
Buffy, they're very firm. We're talking about laws which have existed longer than civilization.
I'm talking about watching my lover die. I don't have a clue what you're talking about, and I don't care.
Buffy, we'll find a cure.
The council's orders are to concentrate on his...
Orders. I don't think I'm going to be taking any more orders.
Goosebumps.
Not from you, not from them.
You can't turn your back on the council.
They're in England. I don't think they can tell which way my back is facing.
Giles, talk to her.
I have nothing to say right now.
Yeah, Giles.
Mm-hmm. That's how you do it.
Wesley, go back to your council
you see
and
what-
tell them until the next layer comes along, they can close up shop. I'm not working for them anymore.
Don't you see what's happening? Faith poisoned Angel to distract you, to keep you out of the mayor's way, and it's working. But we need a strategy.
I have a strategy. You're not in it.
This is mutiny.
I like to think of it as graduation.
Woohoo!
I love that.
Yeah.
Dang.
I yelled at my screen when I was rewatching it earlier, and Wesley makes that little comment about Buffy turning her back on the council. And I was just like, they have turned their backs on her and Giles repeatedly. Like, she owes nothing to them.
Yeah.
How does he think that is going to be what, like, gets her?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
that's a good point to make. It's like,
It-
Wes, shut
yeah.
up.
And it's
Like,
like, have you
he-
met Buffy? Like,
Right?
being like, you have to follow the rules is not the way to get her to do something.
I know.
No.
It's very emblematic of, unfortunately, a lot of institutions or workplaces that it's
Yeah.
like, you are supposed to give us undying loyalty no matter how we treat you.
Yeah.
And
Oh, yeah.
she steps into it of like, I don't think I'm gonna be taking orders anymore because you guys let me down again. So it's either equity or equality or whatever, like reciprocity.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or nothing. So like, this is what we're working with. And I love her stepping into that power.
Yeah. and just being like, the council can close up shop. And the audacity of the council to think that they can just order Buffy to do something and disregard her personal life entirely, to be like, oh, let him die, you need to focus on the mayor. And she's like, you're insane.
She's not a soldier. They treat the Slayers as disposable.
And as like not even having a personality, right? They're just supposed to do what
they're like little stormtroopers.
Like just like no free will, that this is it's their calling, and but she should place that over everything. And it's like, no, I mean, I know that they're ridiculous and they'll never be in this space, but the fact that she doesn't prioritize just slaying over anything else is the whole reason she survived and is as good as she is.
Exactly. It's her strength.
About this so many times, that Buffy's empathy and ability to love other people is one of her biggest strengths, and it's a huge driving force in her will to fight. And without that, she's not Buffy, and she's probably dead. Honestly,
she
which is what the other Slayers
survived.
They hardly ever made it past 18, and it's like, because the way you guys were doing it wasn't working, so a woman came up with a way to do it differently, and you don't like it. Tough.
Like, Buffy has so much to live for. It's not just survival instinct. On top of everything else, she's got a man she loves, a vampire man.
And no matter how inappropriate the relationship is, she does love him, and he does love her, right? Like, that's
a powerful
given.
Force.
Like
in Harry Potter.
And she also saw how quickly the council fired Giles, right? Like, they aren't loyal to their people, so why should she be loyal to them? Like, they fired Giles so fast. They were like, you failed.
Buffy is loyal to her people.
Which I think I had either said it when I guessed it or put it in a voicemail of like, I don't understand these watchers keeping Giles out of the loop. It's like, he's the only one with a Slayer. Why aren't you people like at their beck and call? Like, this is your whole purpose for being, and he's the only one who's got a Slayer, and he's not invited to the retreats or something. I was like, he's the only one that's actually having a job right now. I thought it was perfect timing for the writers to do the Buffy breaks up with the toxic council in the graduation episode. Well, I guess like part 1 of the graduation episode, because like she steps into her autonomy and power in that scene, at least for me, and like they need her, and it felt like it was the culmination of the past 3 years of being a fan of the show in that moment where she's like, you know what, I'm not doing this anymore. All the ways that they treated her and Giles, her family, Giles, like crap, and now she's like, you know what, no more. I'm graduating from this relationship. I'm changing. Like she had said before in the beginning of the episode, like, what's up with graduation? We only get a piece of paper and nothing changes. Well, Buffy, you're graduating in different ways.
And she's right about high school graduation. The actual ceremony is kind of, I mean, whatever. It's more for the parents. But
definitely.
The act of completing something and moving on in life and accepting adulthood and making your own decisions is incredibly meaningful. And she does all of that in that one moment. It's like it all coalesces, and she's like, I'm in charge of me. It's my favorite moment up to this season, and it's topped by a thing that happens in season 5. And we can talk about that in the Watch Your Diary spoiler section. But I have like a real hatred for the council. I don't like the way that they treat Buffy. I don't like the way that they treat Giles. I am very suspicious of stuffy old white dudes from
white men,
England, right, who have been imperialists and are used to telling everyone what to do, and they withhold knowledge
and making decisions from afar.
And they have all this information that they don't share with Buffy. You know, they have like a huge library and all this research, and like they give it to her in these little dribs and drabs when she needs it most in
Yeah, it's
order
power
to
hoarding.
hold their power. And it's crappy. And toxic is a great word for it because it's abusive. And seeing her, throw off this abusive relationship is inspiring. And I hope that young people watching the show are like, yeah, who you work for matters and how they treat you matters.
Yeah, that'd be a nice lesson to learn younger in life as opposed to
Yeah.
later in life.
Yeah. It's like you are what's valuable. You are valuable inherently, not your productivity. And don't give your dedication to any company or institution that doesn't value you back. It's the equality. And
Very
I love
true.
that Gen Z seems to be stepping into that because it's powerful. It's important.
Yeah. They're like, why would I give you more than what you pay me for? Like this whole,
Such a concept.
I was so like taught that if you want to get ahead, you give 110%, you work overtime without complaining about it, you take on job responsibilities beyond what, is in your job description, all those things that then
go early, stay late.
Yep. And never complain. Yep. And watching younger generations be like, I'm not doing that, and knowing that it cost me my health, I'm like,
yeah,
good for you, and I support you, and I want the younger generations to like push corporate culture just off a cliff. Just like get rid of
there's
it.
no such thing as like they're like name recognition. Like I had this friend, I have this friend, he's still alive, but I have this friend, he worked really hard in medicine and he's a specialist in cardiovascular surgery, and he came around to the different hospitals in Massachusetts and they were giving him like pennies to the dollar. And like he sacrificed a lot to be this good, and he was telling them like, why are you offering me so little, in comparison for that job? And they said, well, you get name recognition. And he's like, forget that. And now he's working at a great hospital in New York City,
that's like,
getting paid lots.
So many people hit up artists to do work for free, and then they're like, it'll be great exposure for you, there's going to be 100 people at my wedding or whatever, and it's like,
no, don't do that, people. No, pay your friends for their artistic stuff.
Yeah,
like this is not free. This is for like hairdressers, everything.
Yeah,
like
exposure does not pay bills, exposure does not pay rent.
Yeah,
and
it's hard work.
And as an artist myself, it's not just the exact amount of time that it took to make a specific piece. Like the time that an artist puts into a piece is like years of training and thinking and it's mistakes and making bad art and looking at other people's art. There's so much that goes into every single piece. And if you like art, pay for it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. This is true for all the chefs out there too. Like this is legit. Unless it's like a gift or something.
Yeah.
Like no, like pay these people for their time, their energy, their life that they spent doing this for you.
Yeah, I worked at a law firm that that imploded, and I learned a lot from watching what happened in the aftermath. The law firm was falling apart, and various partners were going to other law firms, and they were cherry picking their favorite associates to take with them. And then they were fighting over the particularly valuable associates, right? The ones that had like really good client skills or good relationships with the clients or whatever. And the way that they were still, after the firm was like, we're shuttering, we're closing our doors, we're winding down business, being like, you should be loyal to the firm, was like ridiculous. I'm like, no. As soon as you said that I was losing my job, I started looking for another one, and I am only going to do the amount of work necessary to not get sued for malpractice. That is the level that you're going to get from me, and I'm going to leave for another job. And it was amazing. After I was at a new law firm, one of the partners from the old law firm, who was still at the old law firm, like winding up business, called and was like, oh, the client needs this, this, and this. And I was like, I don't work at that firm anymore. Like, y'all are closing and I got a new job. And he was like, but you owe us to finish the work on this client. And I was like,
bitch, no, I don't.
Oh my gosh.
I don't work
these
for
people.
you. Like, I don't know how else to explain it. And he yelled at me about being ungrateful. And I was like, what are you talking about?
Whoa. What does gratitude have to do? Like, no. You pay me for my expertise.
And
Gratitude
I
has no
worked
place here.
really hard when I worked there. I worked long hours. I did all the things that you asked me to do. And then you're going out of business, and I left. Like, we're done.
Yeah.
We're done. You got all the loyalty you were going to get from me, and we're done. And then I went to a partner, one of the partners who took me to this new law firm, and I was like, this just happened. Am I crazy? And she was like, no, he is.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, thank you.
Exactly. It's interesting how that follows.
Yeah. I was like, this is the weirdest conversation I've ever had. Like, why does he think that I still have to work for him? It's so weird.
Yeah.
Crazy.
And I guarantee you, the fact that you're a woman also made that conversation take over. Like, it's like, excuse me, what?
He felt very comfortable, like, saying mean stuff to me and talking down to me and ordering me around. And I was like, oh my God, dude. And I developed a lot of attitude after that whole thing happened, because I had clients follow me, and I was still pretty junior, and I was like, oh, I'm good. They're lucky to have me. Like, it completely changed my perspective on my job and my value. I was like,
that is nice.
I am really good at this, and they need to treat me like I'm really good at this. And they didn't, and I left.
And if they don't, I love it. I love that. Everyone do that.
Yeah.
Like, it's your job is what pays for your life. That's it.
Will get you.
Yeah.
I'm still dealing with the health ramifications of burnout.
Yeah.
Like, and it's been, well, from my leaving my really, really toxic situation, it's been 3 years almost at this point. And now I'm like, I don't know if this ever goes away.
Well, I read, and
it takes a while.
It takes 3 to 5 years.
Yep.
To cure burnout.
Yes, it does. And that's after
if you leave and are not working. So, Kara, you're still working at another job. So it's going to take longer for you because you're still traumatizing yourself with work. So,
yep.
What
Penny said.
Yeah.
That's 100% accurate. I mean, I think it's, unfortunately a lot of people have burnout, and it's always in a toxic environment. It's always unhealthy, and no one's going to hold your boundaries but you. And if you're in it, that's like being in a war zone for your nervous system every day.
Yeah.
And so, it's going to take years to recover. And absolutely, if you're not working, or if you're working in a very supportive thing and you hold your boundaries, the amount of times I've had to remind people of like 40 hours and no more than that, believe me, a capitalist society would love to make us work more than 40 hours.
Oh, yeah.
We're just not productive after that. Like, we just long-term won't be.
Well, that's where being billable hours comes to haunt
It's
you.
the worst. Billable hours are the worst.
Very much so. We got to get you someplace where you're salaried.
I had an employee for a few years. I had a team of employees that were in the Philippines. And they very much had this culture of like, an American company came to us and gave us really good jobs, And so they worked so hard. And one of my employees emailed me one time, and she said, is it okay if I work from home today? The flood waters outside my apartment are waist high. And I was like, you don't ask in that case. You tell. You say, I'm not going outside in these floods. Like, your health and well-being are important to me as your, manager. And absolutely, you could work from home today. Do what you need to do to take care of yourself. Like, safety first. And other people were like, wow, Penny's such a nice person. And I was like, that's not, like, that should not be a high bar, what I just did. Like, that should be the minimum.
Yeah, no, I had a trainee, and we were going over some cases, and they raised their hand, and I was like, what? We were in like a group setting, and they were like, I just need to run to the restroom. And I was like, well, one, yes, please go take care of yourself. And two, don't raise your hand. If anyone makes you raise your hand to use the bathroom as an adult, frankly, as children, doesn't make sense either, but as an adult, frickin' run. Like, that's please,
toxic.
no, eat, drink, take care of yourself while you're here. I was horrified that this fully grown adult had been conditioned to that point in our field to raise their hand. And I'm like, there's only like 4 of us here. Like what?
Say,
don't
excuse
give
me,
anyone that
and
kind of power.
go. Yeah.
Yeah, don't give anyone that kind of power. Like, what?
But it's
absolutely
it's a very American culture thing. I think it's very different in Europe. I remember one time we had somebody from like our sister law firm in England came and worked at our firm for 6 months. And I was talking to the partner who was his boss in England, and she's like, "Oh, we're hoping he'll pick up a bunch of your American work habits." And I was like, "We're hoping that he'll rub off on us and we'll pick up some European work habits. Like, when I'm on vacation, I don't answer email and stuff like that."
Oh my gosh.
For the first time in my life in Scotland, I did not open my work email. That was for the very first time.
Don't do that anymore. Like, don't answer it anymore. Like, hey, I like to sort of use me as like an example when I'm with people of like, I literally work in a situation where there's life and death, and I don't answer my phone or emails when it's the weekend or I'm on vacation or after closing time, because a hospital has other people who will pick it up. And also, if it's an emergency, you shouldn't be calling me at 9 o'clock at night. You should be calling 911.
Yeah.
And I only know that because I had a great mentor who taught me that. And she was like, if it's an emergency, you shouldn't be calling me. You should be going to the hospital. If it's not an emergency, it can wait until I come into the office.
Exactly.
I was like, dang.
I had a friend at the law firm who took a vacation to Alaska to go camping. And he specifically chose it because not even satellite phones would work there.
That's hilarious.
And he's like, I don't want to be physically able to check email or take a call.
It's a good call.
And I was like, it's sad that you have to like hide.
I know. And like me as a psychologist, I'm like, so the power comes from within you. And like just turn off the notifications on your phone. And this is when I encourage people, you know what?
That is helpful. Media.
Yeah. I'm like, turn off the notifications on your phone. So like you have to open, like you have to push on that mail app, to look at it, and go on Facebook, go on Instagram, go on TikTok. Like, we can channel this in a different area if you need to look at your phone.
Yeah.
No work. Our brain does not like it when we do work when we're supposed to be on vacation, because then you're no longer allowed to heal from work at that time. Your brain doesn't listen to it that way. So the only way to recover from burnout is no work while you're recovering. like no, because now you're not on vacation. Your brain's confused now.
Nope. All right. I feel like we've been on quite a tangent about toxic workplace environments. It's a valuable conversation, and I'm glad we're having it.
Yes.
But I think we should move on. But first, I want to take a little break. Hey, we're back from a little break, and we're ready to not go on any more tangents and and talk about the episode some more. And I'm gonna start us off by saying how much I enjoyed Anya and Xander's interactions in this episode. The first one where she asks him out and has the amazing "men love sports, I'm sure of it" conversation with him. It's hilarious.
Men watch the action movie. They eat the beef.
Love to look at the bosoms. I mean, she's not wrong, but he's also not wrong when he's like 1,000 years of avenging our wrongs, and that's what you know about us. Like,
how dare you reduce us to this?
I know. I kind of vacillated back and forth with Xander in these scenes. Like, Anya definitely makes him more endearing, but like I have this written down of like when they're talking, and I'm just like, Xander, you're such an ass. Like, I get that Anya is a former demon, but like, don't talk to her like that. Like, he just gets
know.
really snippy because, like, she doesn't remember all the nuances of being human. And it's like, okay, come on. She's not being awful to you. And then I will say, when they're saying their goodbyes, he says he can't run away with her because of his friends. And she says, so? And he points out that her humanity is still a work in progress.
Yeah.
Okay,
Oh,
point,
yeah.
point, Xander.
Yeah.
Like, that was kind of cold of her.
Yeah. But she's like,
I love their dynamic.
when I think
so
that
much.
something could happen to you, it feels bad inside. Like I might vomit.
I know.
And he's like,
I know.
welcome to the world of romance. And she says, it's horrible. No wonder I used to get so much work.
Yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Oh man, Anya would have a field day with the women on dating apps.
Oh my gosh.
It's a perfect pipeline for them.
Yeah. I'm not a vengeful person, so I don't think I would ever call on Yanka, but there are some men
No,
who would
You're a better
deserve it.
person than me.
My take
I
is
think it
always
depends.
cut contact. Like,
Oh, 100%.
I don't want to have any more interaction, and vengeance requires interaction. So I'm just
Yeah,
out.
I wonder if it's because, like, when she became a vengeance demon, you couldn't cut off contact that easily.
Yeah,
'Cause
you
they would
live
be
in
like
the
in the
same
same
town.
village as you.
Yeah.
Yeah, so they'd be like, "Ugh, how do I get him to just, ghost me or leave me on red? Oh, I know. I'll
Well-
call the vengeance demons."
Yeah. Oh,
Or before divorce was an option.
yeah. I mean, we have
Your
a
point.
lot of freedoms that people are trying to take
Good
away from us,
point.
but that do
Yeah,
allow
no fault
us
divorce.
to get.
Very important.
Yeah. They allow us to leave men at the current time in our society, and it's a
That is a
huge
great
difference,
point.
right? Like women used to have to
Vengeance
hope
demons
that
ruined
their
the
husbands
divorce.
got killed. You know what I mean? They'd be like,
Yeah.
they'd poison them or something because they had no other way out.
Which is what I love in America coming up right now, of like, men want to get rid of divorce. But do you remember what what women had to resort to when they couldn't divorce?
Yeah.
It's like,
I saw
oh,
a whole TikTok comment section on a
point.
no-fault divorce video where they were just posting different lethal plants you could grow in a garden. And it's like, hemlock
Okay.
looks lovely this time of year. And
Whoa. I mean, just because you take away the choice doesn't mean you take away the option. So
it's like, guys, this is a bad move.
I mean, if men really want to go back to a time when women were in the kitchen and were not allowed to be to get a divorce, then women are going to have to go back to poisoning their husbands because
I know.
they'll have
and
complete control over the
vengeance
food.
demons.
Yeah.
Yeah. And vengeance demons. I mean, it's not going to work out very well.
Yeah. That was not good for anyone, and
No.
I hope we don't end up back there. But
No.
Anya knows about an ascension, right? Because she's been to one before, and I think Emma
was very
Caulfield
handy.
did an amazing job of portraying abject terror. Like when Xander's like, oh, blah, the ascension, and then she stops talking, and the look on her face.
Yep.
It's fantastic acting, because up until then she's been all like sassy and funny and snippy and insecure and girly and like all these things, and then it's just like all of that drops away and all that's left is fear. It was beautiful.
It's so good. So good.
That was a really God. They're also good at conveying so much depth with just a look.
Yeah.
Yes.
It makes this
Absolutely.
show so much more rich to watch. And I do love too, in particular, the scene with Giles and Xander where they're unfolding, in the book to see what this prior demon
Oh yeah.
like, and they have to keep unfolding.
I know. I have it written down as a demonic playboy.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Just like a
the
demonic
worst
centerfold.
centerfold in existence.
Yeah. And then, Xander, we're gonna need a bigger boat with the Jaws
I
reference.
know.
That we're gonna need a bigger
like,
boat
nerd.
is never not a funny thing to say. Like
I know.
when it's appropriate, it's so funny.
It's so good.
And it was
so good.
so exactly perfect in that moment. I loved it.
So good. And I liked how the show expanded the lore by having the audience learn more about demons in our world, which were hybrids versus their true form.
Yeah.
That'll come up later. But I liked how that, just kind of expanded that. I found that
And
very
when Buffy
interesting.
was just like, excuse me,
Yeah.
professionally fighting them for 4 years, and Anya might as well have been like, no, little girl. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
She's like,
you have
you've
no
been
idea.
fighting demon light.
Oh, my sweet
is
summer child.
terrifying.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
what you don't know about demons is a lot. And I love that
winter is coming on graduation day.
that all of them didn't know, right? The council didn't know that.
Yeah.
Yes.
And
that
why
makes
would they?
it so much more terrifying. This is something that is truly unprecedented.
Yeah.
It's kept locked away. This is what happens when you gatekeep knowledge, watchers.
Well, yeah.
And also,
But I
like,
also think it's
be open to getting information from all sources, right? Like, have they ever thought to talk to demons and find out what demons know about other demons? Like, Anya is a source of so much useful intelligence because of her experience.
You know what that reminds me of?
What?
How much knowledge we gained about the psyche of serial killers and serial rapists after John Douglas, and other people who started the behavioral analysis unit, the behavioral science unit with the FBI, going straight to the source.
Yeah.
Imagine that.
And learning
instead of just
Imagine
theorizing.
going straight to the source about it.
Right. Yeah. Instead of theorizing, instead of, projecting your own psyche onto their actions to try to understand them, like, gather information
Ask them
from a primary source. It's basic academia, right?
Yeah.
Handy that Anya has been around for thousands of years, whereas Angel, compared to Anya, is
a child,
toddler.
Yeah. In more ways than one, a toddler.
Yeah.
Speaking of Angel, again, watching the show in this day and age in 2024, I just, when Faith shot him with that infected arrow, and he had the symptoms, I'm like, oh, it's demonic COVID.
Yeah.
He's lying in bed, sweaty, fever, dizzy. I mean, he'd probably be coughing if he breathed regularly.
Yeah.
I'm just like, oh, Angel, I feel you.
Yeah,
let's get
COVID
you some
sucks, man.
Paxlovid or something. Oh, I know, that's a Slayer blood. Slayer blood is Paxlovid.
Yeah, exactly.
for vampires.
Drink some bleach, you'll be fine. The president
Expose
said
your body to sunlight. It'll take care of it.
Yeah. A stake to the heart. It's perfect. It works on animals. It'll be very good for you.
Yeah, totally. Everything about that scene when Faith shoots him. First of all, he and Buffy are having such a classic breakup moment where he's like, "Are you mad at me for being around or not being around?" She's like, "Yes." And
yeah, that was perfect.
It's like, everything is upsetting about you right now. How can you not understand that your existence is upsetting? And then Faith shoots him, and that whatever vampire who's next to her is like, "You missed the heart." And she's like,
meant to.
Meant to.
It's like, geez, with the mansplaining this episode.
Yeah.
It's like, you missed the heart. And she's like, meant to. I would have loved it if she would have just staked that
or just clocked him. Just been like, shut up.
Yeah. It's like, I meant to. Shut up.
I know what I'm doing. Like, I have a whole dumbass.
So yeah, it's almost like it's my job.
Yeah, like I'm an expert at killing vampires. I know exactly what I'm doing. It is a really good plan. I mean, I'm not on Faith's side, but distracting Buffy by putting Angel in danger is brilliant. And
brilliant.
Yeah.
Same thing with kidnapping Willow.
Yeah.
In exchange for the box of, what does Buffy say? Gavrocks?
She calls it Gravlock.
Gravlocks, that's
yeah.
it. Instead of Gavrock. Yeah. And it's just like, they know how to play her.
Yeah. And
they really do.
And it's Faith both times. Faith is the one who sees Willow and captures her, and it's more about just knowing your enemy, right? Faith knows Buffy and her friends really well, so she is using that knowledge against them in a very effective way. It's really smart.
Yeah.
And if the cure had not been a Slayer's blood, Buffy would not have had time or energy to go after Faith in that moment, right? She would have been fully pursuing a cure for Angel, and it's just coincidence that it's a Slayer's blood and that it means that she gets to fight Faith. And in her mind, she's like, bonus, I get to fight Faith, right? Like that's just a plus. I love the scene when Oz like discovers the cure and he's all like, oh no. And Willow's like, no, look, it says completely reverse the, oh, I see. It's Slayer blood. And then Buffy's like, no, that's perfect.
She's like, I got this.
It's a chilling scene because then they all in the room realize, oh, Buffy's gonna kill Faith. Like, oh.
So poetic.
It is. It's perfect. She's right. It is perfect. Faith has it coming. She's the one who put Angel in this situation. It's interesting. The poison. If I were a Slayer, I'd be like, can I get some of that poison to just keep for future, like other vampires I want to.
I know,
right?
Seriously, I'm like, this is very useful.
That seems really helpful. I also love when Buffy's like, all right, I'm gonna pull the arrow out on 3, and then she pulls it on 1.
I love
It's
that.
so funny.
Like, I knew you were gonna do that.
Like, because that's exactly what he would have done too. Like, it's
100%.
I think that's one of my favorite little tropes in movies and TV shows.
Is when people do that.
Somebody's been injured, and they
on the count of 3.
Count to 3.
And
they never get.
And they never do it on 3.
It's clever. It's kind of like how when I have to get like a blood drawn or whatever, I don't look at the site.
Yeah.
But if you don't look, it doesn't hurt as much.
Yeah, I'm weird. I like to just stare at it and be like,
yeah, I have to look at it.
I just look at it like, ooh, I made that.
Yeah. That's how I am when I'm giving blood, right? And you're all hooked up and you're watching it like flow out of you, and you're like, and you could like pump your fist and make it go faster. Yeah. That's fascinating. I'm like, ooh, look at that.
I'm perfectly placed in a hospital because I'm like, this is so cool. I'm like that all the time. I don't know. It's so weird. Just morbid. Doesn't help when I'm saying that to a patient. They're like, thanks.
Yeah. There's nothing worse when you're a patient and the doctor is like, oh, this is interesting. You're like, I don't want to be interesting. Like,
yeah.
Like, no.
Yeah.
I had when I had my wisdom teeth impacted, I had all 4 impacted at once, and
oh my God.
It was incredibly painful. And I was at a teaching dental hospital, and he was like, can I bring my students in? And like 23 people came in the room, and they're all like,
you can always tell them no. Do they say no? It's too much.
I
would say
I said yes. And they all came in, and they're all like, does it hurt a lot? And I'm like, I don't like this now. Like at first I was like, yeah, I don't care about students. That's fine. And then I was like, oh no, they're all fascinated. That's not a good sign. Yeah, you don't want to be interesting
it's
to a
never
doctor.
Great. No, it's never a good thing.
No,
never a good thing.
No.
Also,
That's
not a good
watching
thing.
My first autopsy, I was like, am I supposed to find this fascinating?
No,
like, this feels wrong.
No, it definitely is. It's fascinating. I love it. I'm like, ooh, we make that, and they don't look like people anymore. But another
because if
thing.
I let my brain think about them being people, then I'm gonna puke and pass out. Anyway.
that is true. You do have to shut that part off of you, like on the Vampire Diaries. Just shut off your humanity.
Yeah.
One of the but one of the things I thought was really like, I mean, it was adorable that Willow and Oz banged it out, but like I thought it was very funny upon watching it. I'm like, Amy's still in that cage.
Yeah.
I know.
She saw a show.
She's getting a free show.
Yeah.
But that might be like one of the sweetest movie, TV show losing of your virginity scenes.
I
It
know.
is so
we all wanted an Oz, huh?
Cute.
Yeah.
Do you want to hear it? I have it.
Sure.
Okay.
Oz.
What?
Could you just pretend to care about what's happening, please?
You think I don't care?
I think we could be dead in 2 days' time, and you're being ironic detachment guy.
Would it help if I panic?
Yes, it'd be swell. Panic is a thing people can share in times of crisis, and everything's really scary now, you know? And I don't know what's gonna happen. And there's all sorts of things that you're supposed to get to do after high school, and I was really looking forward to doing them, and now we're probably just gonna die, and I'd like to feel that maybe you would...
That's the kissing moment.
Perfect. Pep music.
Yeah.
Definitely not sexy music.
Yeah. And then
this is like after
pan away
when the birds are chirping, metaphorically.
Yeah. It's
literally the birds and bees.
It is so sweet and cute. And then their moment afterward when they're like, she's like, do you feel different? I feel different. And he's all like, yeah, everything's different. It's so cute. And then they get the call and they're like, oh, we're back on duty. And they just like run out of there. It's adorable.
I feel like it was good for her.
It was, I
feel like he was good.
Yeah. I think they both had a really important experience that day.
Yeah.
Yes. And he was so tender with her, like the acting from Seth Green, and that I was just like, my heart is melting. And I love how, you know, when she does say, I feel different, do you feel different? And she immediately answers for him like, of course not, like, you know, you've done this before. And he's like, no, like everything's different. And it's a very nice moment. And I will say too, one of my favorite Oz lines happens right before this scene, when she's, you know, they're doing research with Amy there, and she says, you know, if we want to make ferns invisible or communicate with shrimp, I've got the goods right here. And he just deadpans, our lives are different than other people's.
Yeah.
We've all been there.
Yeah.
Hashtag healthcare workers and lawyers, I'm sure.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, the number of times it's like, I never thought I'd say that sentence out loud, or I would be into it.
It's
it hurts because it's true.
It's so cute and sweet, and it's like this little oasis.
So much better than Buffy's first time.
Yeah.
Jeez, I know.
I mean,
polar opposite.
Yeah. I mean, the first part of Buffy's first time was okay.
That's true.
It's just the aftermath was pretty bad.
Yeah.
But
Buffy.
It was a nice moment in this otherwise pretty dark episode of like sort of what we fight for and why life is worth living, right? There's like moments of connection and other people and love, and I
love that.
It's beautiful.
Oh, I love that.
Getting all schmaltzy.
I know. Things I liked a little bit less. Well, I mean, I liked it because I thought it was funny. But the red graduation gowns, they make a comment of that in the beginning of the episode, and Cordelia is like saying like, oh, it should have been something else. Having the gowns be red reminded me of the red shirts term for dispensable characters from Star Trek.
Oh, yes.
And I was like, I guess that would be accurate.
Yeah.
Lots and lots of red shirts.
Lots of Demon Potter going to be wearing those red robes. Also, I have to agree, maroon is just bleh.
I know.
Yeah. I think all 3 times I've had a graduation ceremony, it was just black robes.
Our high school was forest green, and we had forest green robes, but for college and law school it was black. Man, those law school robes, those are fun.
Yeah, those the doctoral robes are insane.
Hooded?
Yeah. My high school was a navy polyester fabric, and I've been. Oh gosh, I can't believe I have four degrees. I was like going through it in my head. I was just like, how many of these have I worn? It's just a lot of student debt. But it was like navy, and then another navy, and then finally the graduate schools were black. But green sounds interesting. That's a choice.
It worked because, I mean, forest green is a good color for me, so I was okay with it.
Oh, very nice.
Yeah.
This is fine.
My high school might have been blue
Maroon,
and white now that
so
I think
much.
about it, but it's kind of awesome that I don't remember it very well. I'm fine with that.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
fair. I remember
Yeah.
being incredibly sunburned at my high school graduation and
Yeah.
how much it hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Having to
yeah. So,
sweat.
you and I, Kara, had the same thoughts for graduation. So my favorite story is 2003. I wanted to be tanned, even though I'm never tanned. For for the pictures for graduation. So I went to a tanning salon in South Florida.
Oh.
And so that just gives you an idea of the legal ramifications of regulating stuff.
Yeah.
And so I, of course, was Snow White going into there. And
no.
they set me up in a tanning bed the day before. And they said, okay, we haven't hooked it up like properly, so just keep an eye on
No.
the time yourself.
Oh.
And I was like, okay, cool.
No.
Yeah, I remember laying down and listening to my CD of Eminem, and then sort of fading, drifting off in something, and then I realized it was on track 10, and I was like, that's a lot of song for. I was only supposed to be in here for like 15 minutes because I was very pale. So
Oh
I get up and
my
I leave, and
God.
everyone who's done this knows, and it sounds like Kara, you were there too. It doesn't hurt right
Yeah.
away.
I worked at a tanning salon, unfortunately.
So
like,
you know
Yeah.
the end result. I remember we
Yeah.
were in rehearsal the day before, and so I went
Oh.
I did the tanning, and I came back, and all of a sudden my ass started to itch because this
I'm having flashbacks right now, Sam.
because I had gone in wearing a G-string
God.
because 18-year-old me
As you
didn't
do.
wanna- Yeah,
As
like
you do.
you know the whale tail times of
Yeah.
fashion.
Oh my
But I remember
God.
sitting there and my ass started to itch, and I was like, "That's odd." like just not really like what am I sitting in? And so then
Oh
I
my
was like,
God.
what in the world? So I went to the bathroom and looked at it, and it was starting to turn purple.
Oh.
And so I was like, oh no. Yeah.
Blisters.
So
Blisters?
oh no. It was so badly burned I didn't blister.
Oh.
Yeah, that's
So
bad.
it was a purple, like it went past red into purple, and I was like, oh no. And then I had been volunteering at a hospital after school, so we went through the rehearsal. My ass went from itching to burning. And so
Yeah.
like I remember going up to the nurses. This is why I'll always love nurses. They always looked after me when I volunteered there, and I was like, so my my ass itches, and they're like, then wipe better. And I was like, no.
Not that part.
Yeah, I was like, no, that
don't
that
understand.
yeah, I was like, that would make more sense. No, I went to a tanning bed, and so like one of the female nurses was like, let's go into the supply room and it'll show me, and like I showed her, and similar to you, Penny, she goes, ooh. And I was like, So she brought in one of the attendings. I mean, at this point, it was just like show and tell, and they were like, oh boy. And I was like, so what should I do? And they're like, so you I can't remember anymore. It's not a 3rd degree burn. I believe it was a 1st degree burn, because it wasn't like the really serious ones. But they're like, yeah, no, that's a 1st degree burn. You're gonna need to put cold compresses on that 3 times a day, and we'll give you some burn cream.
Yeah.
So again, 2003. They couldn't do this nowadays for volunteers. I'd have to go to a doctor. So yeah, that's what I did. I could not sit like on it very well, and yeah, that was my experience. Oh, and it never peeled. The purple turned to red and just soaked into my skin, and I'm like, well, that's not great. So no tanning beds. No tanning beds, anyone.
I've never gone to any kind of tanning place. I'm so pale. I like burst into flames in the sun. So I've had some epic sunburns, and I am now like a sunscreen parasol shade maniac.
Yep.
Yeah.
That is smart. That's who I am now.
You saw my prom pictures. I was a certain shade of orange.
Yeah, you sure were.
In high school. Oh, no. You know, like it was, you know, they talk about now like eyebrow blindness. I 100% had tan blindness.
Yeah.
So after that, I have not, it's like I'm not going back.
Yeah, good for you.
I already
Yeah.
did damage, I'm sure. to my
Same,
skin.
same. I look like I'm a vampire now when I go out. I am very much anti-sun at this point. I don't know if that's going to make a big difference. But another quick funny story from our graduation, because I was like, oh, we're doing graduation episode. We were while my ass was burning. The next day we were sitting out in the Florida heat, because of course you would for Florida graduation. Yeah, no, it was not smart. Everyone was dying. And we had our principal give us this, I'm sure it was a delightful speech, but like she she had a way of speaking. So when she was telling us this story about a cracked pot, the ED wasn't going over the sound system. So all of us kept hearing it was crackpot. And we're like, I don't know if you could say, even in 2003, we're like, that doesn't sound right.
Yeah.
And so, but she was just telling this story, and it sounded like, I'm sure it was supposed to be inspirational, but we're a bunch of high schoolers. And she's like, and then the crackpot said, I can't work today. And we're like, oh no. We're
like,
all laughing at this, like, because teenagers look at each other and you start laughing, and it's just you could tell, like, she didn't understand why we were laughing, and the teachers behind her couldn't understand it, and we were like, and then afterwards, it's like, oh, a cracked pot. Okay, yeah, no, that's not what we thought you were saying, and we thought it was an interesting story to lead with on graduation.
Yeah.
Our valedictorian, who was one of my good friends and is now a professor at MIT, quoted a Jenna Jameson line in his speech.
That's amazing.
He said it all the time, like, as a joke, and you could tell, like, when he said it, looking around at the people who recognized it, I was like, oh, this is not good.
Yeah. Oh god, that's funny.
That's amazing.
Yeah, high schoolers are super fun.
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, high schoolers, porn.
Yeah, whatever.
It tracks.
Oh, gosh.
Good for him for not taking it so seriously.
Yeah,
he's brilliant. He's perfect. That's one of those things. I was like, he worked it in absolutely perfectly, and none of the adults were going to be like, hey, I know where that's from.
Well, yeah, like, I mean, it's kind of like, if you know, kind of like the Pornhub music that plays, like, if you know, you know. It's like, there's no way to bring it up. I mean, I always just kind of, looking back on how we were at our, like, junior and senior proms and everything, of like, the teachers just must have such unique perspectives on their students, especially around that time, because it would be like, we'd be these students, and then you'd go to the dances having to chaperone, and we'd just be booty dancing on the dance floor. Like, it would just, like, all of a sudden these children are grinding up against each other like it's nothing.
To the window,
to the wall, to the sweat room.
Why not?
I mean,
I'm
there's
a little
Juvenile,
older
back
than
that ass up.
I'm a little older than you guys, so for us it was called Dirty Dancing. Right? And it was very much in imitation of the dancing scene in that movie, and that was like,
oh, that's so nice.
Yeah.
So much more wholesome.
Like,
yeah, so much more wholesome.
Like, my high school years were kind of pre-hip hop.
Oh, you guys missed out.
Yeah, we did. I mean, also I lived in New Hampshire, so New Hampshire is the land of perpetual classic rock, so like our high school dances were a lot of like Led Zeppelin and Aerosmith.
Nice.
Nelly.
Yeah, a lot of hair bands. A lot of hair and metal.
Nelly was ours
then.
too.
No Nelly for us. No, it was like Motley Crue.
Much Nelly.
You know, there was like Hot for Teacher was like one of the big like scandalous songs.
Oh my gosh, Hot for Teacher.
We're Not Gonna Take It.
No.
That was always a hit at school
Shaggy.
dances.
Love that song.
It wasn't me. Juvenile.
Beastie Boys, though. Beastie Boys. We had the Beastie Boys.
That is nice. Fight for your right.
Yep.
Speaking of retro, the Percy callback I thought was very cute. I like that the writers brought him full circle. I was like, oh yeah.
Oh, I know. And he was like, telling like that I was being grateful that she didn't beat his ass or whatever.
I know, which
in
is so funny.
The bronze. and she's this close to correcting him, and she's like, you know what, Percy, that was for your own good.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was for
Yeah,
your
I was
own
like,
good,
just
Percy.
go with it, Willow. Just go with it.
Roll
Yeah.
with it.
A little piece of behind the scenes trivia, they reveal in the DVD extras that the Gavrocks that the mayor is eating are made out of like twisted, stretched out Tootsie Rolls. And
Really?
I hate Tootsie Rolls with a passion.
Oh,
I hate them. And every time I think about
love
that
that.
in that scene, I'm like, I think I'd rather eat spiders.
What, you're saying you don't want a Play-Doh version that tastes like it misses
so
chocolate?
funny.
Yeah, and looks like poop? No, thank you.
It's
do like the
LaCroix of
fruit
candy.
flavored Tootsie Rolls. Those are
Ooh,
good.
those are delicious too.
I don't
like
think I've
the
even
vanilla
tried
flavored.
those.
It's more like taffy.
Yeah, it really is.
Yeah.
I used to call Tootsie Rolls like the LaCroix version of candy.
Yeah.
Like they're a hint of what the taste buds should be.
They're nasty. I don't understand people that like them.
I totally get it. I just have the brief interaction with Joyce, our favorite mom.
Let's visit with Joyce.
I know, I really love her. I have her quote written down where Buffy's explaining all this, and Joyce goes, looking back, I think I should have sent you to a different school. Yeah, that's a cool choice. I appreciate that.
I mean, she'd still be the Slayer, but
I know. Just not going to school over a Hellmouth.
Yeah, the Hellmouth thing. But I always love Joyce. I love that she's like, I'm not gonna miss your graduation. And Buffy has a very moving speech about how, Mom, I'm not, the best student. I'm not the star athlete, but this is what I do better than anyone in the world. And I can do it, but I can't do it if I'm worried about you. And can you imagine how hard it must have been for Joyce to like get in her car and drive out of town?
No,
that's a mom sacrifice right there.
Well,
that's
and she looks so proud of Buffy by the end of that scene. And it's hard. But Buffy is 100% right. Like if Joyce stays there, then it's gonna up the chances of Buffy being killed trying to protect her.
Yeah,
exactly. Which brings to mind, Xander, get out too.
Yeah.
Willow does magic. Giles is a watcher. Like, again, the helpless humans around.
Yeah. Although, well, I don't want to get into spoilers for the next episode.
Oh, yes, that's right.
We'll get there. I'm glad you brought up Joyce though, because I don't like to miss any opportunity to talk about how wonderful Joyce is.
Our favorite mom.
She's the best.
I know. That's all I had.
It's a good time to move on to some pop culture references, or not so pop culture. Although this one, I think it's going to be all pop culture. I'll start, and I love the scene when they're talking about who's going to speak at graduation, and Willow guesses Siegfried, Roy, one of the tigers.
I love that.
So great.
And Siegfried and Roy were German-American magicians and entertainers. They're best known for their use of white lions and white tigers in their acts. Siegfried passed away in 2021 and Roy in 2020.
Not from tigers.
No, but which one of them was attacked by one of the tigers? I can't remember.
I think it was Roy.
I can't remember either.
Yeah.
And for the children listening to us at this point, this was before Tiger King.
Yeah.
They were the original Tiger King and slightly less problematic.
Yeah. There's a amazing IMAX documentary about Siegfried and Roy. If you ever have the chance to see it, it's unbelievable. And I saw it in the theater, and every like 10 minutes or so, there's a moment where you're like, oh, they should be a couple. And people in the theater kept yelling, kiss, kiss.
Well, funny you say that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
On seeing an illustration of the mayor's eventual demon form, Xander quotes the famous line from the 1975 film Jaws, "We're going to need a bigger boat." This is a rephrase of a line from Jaws, the 1975 horror film about a great white shark based on the book by Peter Benchley. The character of Brody, upon first seeing the shark, says, "You're gonna need a bigger boat to catch it." He also quoted the movie in the episode Go Fish, because Xander is repetitive.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's kind of perfect. That's like a perfect reference. That
Yeah, he finally
Xander
nailed
would
it.
Yeah.
Spot on. Xander also paraphrases Private Hudson from the 1986 classic film Aliens, saying that he was getting short, 4 more weeks and out.
Mm-hmm.
When
Another good movie.
When Buffy first arrives at Faith's apartment, she is listening to a song called Sunday Mail from 1998 by rock band Spectator Pump. And I love how she just very, like, quietly just presses the off button.
Yeah. Faith's line, "Look at you, all dressed up in Big Sister's clothes," is a reference to the Elvis Costello song, Big Sister's Clothes. I didn't know that.
Xander also says, "Easier said than done, Monarchy Boy," which is a reference to Wesley's Britishness, this time talking about the fact that his native country has a monarchy, of course, which is a form of government in which sovereignty is vested in a single person whose right to rule is generally hereditary and who is empowered to remain in office for life. Though in England's case, nowadays, the monarch doesn't actually rule, the prime minister does.
Mm-hmm.
True.
In the scene where Oz and Willow are in Willow's bedroom, they talk about Amy. Oz says, "But you got the swinging habit trail going. I think she's in a good place." And Habit Trail is the maker of environments for small pets, usually hamsters or gerbils, consisting of plastic, tubes, and toys. The cage that Amy was in wasn't actually a habit trail, but the tubing may have been.
When I rewatched this, I thought he said Happy Trail to Willow, and I was just like, what?
Yeah, no, Habit
No,
Trail.
that's what she got to see later.
Yeah.
I know, but I was just like, that's not a great thing to say to your girlfriend. I was like, what the hell is he talking about? And then I processed it.
She's got the swinging happy trail going.
I was confused for a good minute. I'm gonna blame my current health state and whatnot.
No, it's delightful. It's delightful.
I was just like,
I'm imagining a hamster happy trail. I love it.
All right,
so
moving on to trivia.
I'm still laughing.
You're still talking about the happy trail? Yeah.
Hamster happy trail. Sorry.
Oh god.
I still have it. Okay. Not gonna. Okay. Oh my gosh. I don't know why. That really got me.
Because it's absurd.
Yeah, it is absurd.
Okay.
Rudy, be nice to the cat. Okay.
So for some trivia, I love this one. From minute 21:41, Angel comes in and slips in the hallway. David Boreanaz did really slip, and they kept it in the show. I love that. I never felt closer to Angel than I did in that moment.
It's so awkward and clumsy. It's fantastic. And Buffy's like, stealthy.
Yeah, I know.
Adorable.
So relatable.
Oh. Fun fact, during the original airing, the first trailer for Angel, the spin-off show, was shown. It lasted only 4 seconds, with David Boreanaz turning towards the camera and the words "Angel" this fall appearing. I remember
that. I remember it. Oh, so good.
So exciting.
Willow comments that she'll miss Sunnydale High soda machine, which never gives her the drink she chooses, possibly as a result of being bashed about by Buffy in the Halloween episode and Xander in the Zeppo. This is an in-joke, as fans had pointed out that it actually dispenses types of soda cans that aren't amongst the choices available on the selection panel.
Oh, that's amazing.
That's fantastic.
According to stunt coordinator Jeff Pruitt, stunt double Sophia Crawford was uncomfortable with Buffy's signature leather pants since she felt they were preventing her from kicking freely.
Yeah.
That makes
having
sense.
worn those pleather versions after the show and in Florida. I can concur. I can't imagine
Did
how.
leather leggings not exist yet?
Nope. Well, at least not in my town.
That's unfortunate. I was going to say, because those are real easy to move around in.
Yes,
Yeah.
those are a lie.
Yeah.
They look real nice, but they're a lie.
Yeah. Oh, that's funny. Let's see. And then in 2002, Harry Groner,
I think it's Grainer, but I could be wrong.
Groner has implications for my 12-year-old boy part of my brain.
No, I know. My brain went there too.
Let's see. I'll just do this. In
Harry
2002. Damn it.
Sorry.
We can do it. I was so close. Okay.
Hamster happy trail.
Oh, no. I can do it. Okay. In 2002, Harry Grainer, the mayor, was asked if he ever got recognized in his role as Buffy. And he answered yes every day on the bus, the street, the stores, everywhere. It's great. Oh, this is so cute. And boy, do they love the mayor. So do I.
Yeah.
Aww.
I loved that piece of trivia. I thought it was so adorable.
That's adorable.
Eliza Dushku
Very fitting.
is from Boston. And when Faith is telling the mayor about when she was a kid, she says she lived just outside of Boston. This is also evident by her use of the phrase wicked gross when the mayor says he has to eat several spiders. Wicked is a commonly used slang word for very or extremely, most commonly used by people from Boston and Massachusetts. And I
Wicked smart.
started using it ironically and then eventually started using it sincerely and can't stop.
Wicked smart.
Ah, yeah.
That's lovely.
In 2022, Harry Grainer said playing the mayor was one of the best experiences he has ever had in television. He admitted to feeling a little depressed when the show ended in 2003 because he, quote, wanted to see what happened to the kids, end quote, such as Buffy and Xander. He would have liked to see the story continue on TV. He is not a comic book fan because the last season went through the comics.
Yeah.
Aw.
That's fair.
I like that he was a fan.
Yeah,
of
it's
the
adorable.
show.
It's like, oh no,
I know.
they canceled it. Yeah.
I know. Aw.
That's cute. Well, this is a fun fact. Willow became the 4th Scooby Gang member to lose their virginity in the series. Oz was said to have had sex before by Willow and himself after Cordelia. That was mentioned in Bad Eggs. I'm sorry, my dogs are attacking my cat right now. And then Buffy, of course, in Surprise, and Xander in The Zeppo.
Interesting.
Ugh.
Memorable.
Yeah.
I hate that Xander lost his virginity to Faith.
I know. It's the one and only time I felt bad for him.
Oh,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I was like,
I think at the time he was pretty psyched about it.
Oh,
yeah.
he loved it
Oh, yeah,
until
no. He loved it. It was the after treatment. I'm like, no one deserves to be treated that way, even Xander.
Yeah. So
buddy.
this brings us to a very difficult question that I know you'll have a hard time answering. Does it still slay? Kara?
Always.
Yeah.
Always. It really does. This is a
Yeah.
great episode.
It definitely does. For me, yep.
Yeah.
Yep, very relevant.
So much slaying.
It's
Just slaying and slaying.
One of
and
the
slaying.
most memorable, like, 2-part season finales, I think, of any show that I've seen.
Yeah.
Yeah, same.
We have just a little bit of news this week. First, I wanted to mention that Shannon Doherty passed away on July 13th of this year. She was not a member of the cast of Buffy, but she was famously very good friends with Sarah Michelle Gellar, and I'm a huge fan. I've mentioned her on this podcast before. I loved Charmed. I loved her on 90210. I loved her podcast, Let's Be Clear. She had just started doing a Charmed rewatch podcast with Holly Marie Combs, Brian Krause, and Drew Fuller. They recorded like 2 or 3 episodes before she passed, and those are going to be released. But I'm just really, really sad about her passing. I think she was a remarkable person. And
Yeah.
I'll link her obituary in the show notes if people want to read it. And the other piece of news is that Juliet Landau, who played Drusilla, has a movie that is making the festival rounds right now called A Place Among the Dead. It's won a ton of awards. And it's a movie, it's a vampire movie. And she made the movie making the parallel between vampires and narcissists. And she has a lot of experience with narcissists because apparently both of her famous parents are narcissists. And
That tracks.
That makes sense.
That tracks.
She among other places that she's been talking about the film, she was on a podcast called Navigating Narcissism with Dr. Ramani. And she talks about the film, and she talks about her famous parents and about, dealing with narcissism. And it was a really interesting conversation. I'll put a link in the show notes for that, and also a link to the trailer for the movie. You can buy it on DVD or rent it or buy it on Amazon Prime. I think it's also available on Apple Movies. And she mentions in the podcast that they have interest from distributors, but they haven't made a deal for it yet. So maybe it'll also come to theaters or get, released on some other streaming app. We don't know.
Yeah, I just wanted to circle around real quick about Shannon Doherty. I know there's a big overlap of Buffy fans who also watched Charmed. They were out around the same time, and it's about the supernatural. And I was a fan of the show, and I knew that there was backstage drama, but honestly, I never really knew anything about it. I want to call back to Shannon Doherty's podcast, Let's Be Clear, and there's episodes that came out in December 11th and December 18th of 2023, where she and Holly Marie Combs talk more about what happened behind the scenes. And I found it fascinating when I saw her at I believe her last Comic-Con performance in MegaCon this past February. And they had brought it up, and she was delightful and wonderful and very down to earth. And it was just really powerful to see them all united on stage. Her, Holly Marie Combs, and Rose McGowan, and them just sort of reinforcing their point of view on what happened. And I just found it very interesting. So if you're a fan of Charmed, or if you're a fan of Shannon Doherty, I highly recommend listening to those two episodes on her podcast, because they're pretty fantastic to the viewer to get an idea of what went on behind a show that we, at least for me, I hold very high in my heart.
Yeah, I love Charmed.
Sounds interesting.
I've been rewatching it since she passed, and just marveling at how charismatic she is on screen, and magnetic and beautiful. I mean, she's so beautiful.
Yeah. And also, I love that she's still a rock star. She had in her will a list of people she did not want at her funeral.
I know.
And I was like, you know what? Respect.
Is amazing.
Legendary, right? I want to do the same thing.
Amazing.
That's brilliant.
So amazing.
Totally putting that in my will.
Yes, definitely iconic. Definitely Buffyverse iconic. I love it.
Let's head on over to the Bronze and have a blooming onion and hear from some of our listeners.
Bronze things. Things of bronze.
We got Jolene's feedback about the prom a little bit too late for that episode, so we're going to read it now. We got an email from Jolene about the prom episode, but we got it a little bit too late to include in our podcast, so we're going to read it now. Kara?
Okay. She said, hey, hopefully this has made it to you in time. It's always in time, technically, because, And she said, every time I watch this episode, I wonder if this will be the time that I don't cry at least twice, usually 3 times. That time has yet to come.
We're right there with you.
Even though Buffy and Angel breaking up was the right thing to do, only Joyce would have had the balls to walk into the crypt of a 243-year-old vampire and tell him to finish with her daughter. Yeah, that was pretty ballsy. She said, it still breaks my heart seeing Buffy sob on Willow's knee. That is a sad scene. The whole scene when he's breaking up with her is so well done. You can see just how broken they both are by it. It must have been hard for them personally, too, as they knew as actors that it really was the end this time with Angel's spinoff coming. And if you remember, We talked about it last episode. Sarah Michelle Gellar was crying so hard after this scene that they had to take like a 20-25 minute break.
Yeah, they had to close the
for
set
her to kind of compose herself, which understandable.
Yeah.
And she also said, I love how we start to see more of Cordelia's character progression in this one. She's obviously embarrassed with what's happened with her dad and the fact she's having to work, but at least she is willing to work to get what she wants. Xander keeping it quiet for her and then buying the dress for her is probably his best moment ever for me. I like how by the end they've come to a truce too. Yeah, that was a huge Xander moment.
Yeah, I agree with you, Jolene. And Kara, that was probably his best moment in the series.
Oh, sweet. He didn't want any credit. He just wanted her to have a nice prom.
Yeah.
And it wasn't even someone that, he was trying to get something from.
Exactly.
So,
right?
I like
It's
it.
pure giving. It was beautiful.
Good job, Sand.
Anya's back! I have witnessed a millennium of treachery and oppression from the males of this species, and I have nothing but contempt for the whole libidinous lot of them. Then why are you talking to me? I don't have a date for the prom. Laughing emojis. That is great. I mean, hashtag modern dating.
Oh, it's so good.
The Hellhound costumes are almost as terrible as Oz's werewolf costume.
Yeah.
Laughing emojis. Yeah. I agree. I think it's really clever how you start off thinking they're going to play a bigger part in the episode, but it turns out to be the lesser story before Buffy has her long-awaited and wanted perfect high school moment. Class protector! Crying emojis. I know, I cry every time I watch that scene. It's like, a little bit of wish fulfillment too. Honestly, I sob like a baby every time I see this scene. Her face, Willow's face, the applause from her classmates, Jonathan's speech, when you see how proud Giles is of her, the whole thing, I can't cope with it. It's one of the best scenes in the whole 7 seasons of Buffy. I agree. And then Giles, every now and then, people surprise you. Before he spots Angel and turns her around, my heart, crying emojis. And the song they used is just perfection. Anyway, I'll go now before I make myself cry. Very excited for graduation day. Have a great weekend, everyone. Jolene.
Thanks, Jolene.
I love that.
Always so great to hear from you. Jolene, I had posted a couple of pictures of my high school yearbook, and Jolene wrote back that they don't have yearbooks in England either. And that blew my mind.
Yeah, I didn't realize. Oh my goodness.
We also heard from Becky, and she says, "Hi, ladies. I just finished the last episode. Y'all are so good." Oh, thank you. I can't wait to join you for an episode. So Becky is going to guest with us in season 4. I'm going to save most of my feedback for part 2, but here's a couple of quotes I thought were great. Anya, when I think something could happen to you, it feels bad inside, like I might vomit. Xander, welcome to the world of romance. Anya, it's horrible. No wonder I used to get so much work. And then also Willow, talking about Harmony. I'm going to miss her. Buffy, don't you hate her? Willow, yes, with a fiery vengeance. She picked on me for 10 years. Vacuous tramp. And Becky attached a graduation photo and her senior cheerleading photo and says, my hair, LOL. So we are going to post that on our Facebook page so you guys can all check that out.
Oh my gosh, I love that. I love that.
All right, that's the end of the main section of the podcast, and you should stay tuned for the Watcher's Diaries if you want to hear the spoilery discussion.
If you'd like to join the conversation, you can find all of our contact information at podcastica.com and in the show notes for each episode. Also, at podcastica.com, you'll find links to our social media pages and all our other shows.
What are you guys listening to these days?
House of the Dragon coverage like crazy.
Oh yeah,
so good.
Dragon Cast,
so good. Dragon Cast is so good. Getting ready for the Cast of the Rings.
Yeah, that's coming back
soon. For that,
I'm finally caught up.
Yay!
Woohoo! The Sandman podcast. It was finishing up the Dead Boy Detectives. I thought they did such an amazing job.
Oh God, that's in my backlog. I haven't gotten to Dead Boy Detectives yet.
It's so good. And the Adrenaline podcast just did a really good horror film for those of us horror aficionados. They covered their review of In a Violent Nature, which I personally really enjoyed. It's a callback to old school slashers, and it's from the point of view of the old school slasher character, like if you were following Jason Voorhees' point of view in the movie. So I found it fantastic, and their review is excellent.
That's good to know. Awesome.
And if you like what we do, give us a 5-star rating, a review, or a like, follow, and subscribe. Next time, we'll be covering Season 3, Episode 22, Graduation Day Part 2. I'm so excited. And in honor of the next episode, we'll be sharing our own graduation photos along with some of our previous guest hosts and any of you who send yours in and let us know that we can share. Thanks, everyone. And
what's her saga?
She's freaking.
About what?
The mayor's gonna kill us all during graduation. I love Cordy.
All right. That's the end of the non-spoiler section. If you want to avoid the spoilers, this is when you should stop listening. But if you want to hear the spoilers, stay tuned. All right. That was enough time for you to stop. On to the Watcher's Diaries and spoiler.
It's too bad we can't sneak a look at the Watcher Diaries. I'm sure it's full of fun facts to know and tell.
Yeah. That's too bad. That stuff is private.
Also, Giles keeps them in his office, in his personal files.
Most importantly, it would be wrong.
Even though Xander has no powers, he comes in handy in the next episode with his military weird training that he absorbed.
Right.
That is the, like, single most wrung out plot line. Like, they got so much from him
the only
being
thing
a
that's
soldier
special about
one
him.
Halloween.
Yeah.
It's the only thing that's special about Xander. They had to ride it till the horses come home.
I love that, though. The fact that Xander does not, he doesn't have any real special capabilities.
No.
But he steps up.
Yeah.
Yeah, he does.
He's plenty brave, right? He's always willing to
Yes.
throw himself in there. It's just that he's, like, kind of a dope about it most of the time. But
and very entitled.
Yeah. But in the next episode, he actually really does, like,
yeah,
organize and lead the charge and all that stuff. So it's good.
Yeah.
And I do love how, like, kill it with fire is basically completely applicable about killing this demon the mayor turns into. And the fact that they learn about it from, Faith's murdering of Professor Worth, finding out that after the ascension, a volcano is what actually killed a demon in pure form. And I love how they go about killing him. Like, it's just so good.
It's fantastic.
It is
when Buffy
brilliant.
makes that comment about, what does she say, like 1,000 pounds of hot lava or something like that. I'm just like, well, you could get
it reminds me a lot of the season 2 arc of how do you destroy that demon that sucked out the humanity.
Oh yeah, no weapon
people.
forged.
Yeah. And it was like no weapon forged at that time.
That
rocket launcher worked.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Such a great moment.
like,
that was then. This is now.
Yeah. Yes. They just keep upping the ante on how to kill the baddies every season finale.
I know. And seeing Harmony pop up, I got so excited. I freaking love Harmony.
Oh, she's hilarious.
Funny.
So
funny.
And Willow saying, "I'm gonna miss her." I'm just like, just wait.
Yeah.
I know. Well,
she'll be back in season 4.
Yeah, she will. No, she's so great. And if she was like barely 18 in season 4, she must be young. Probably the only person who's actually a high schooler when this was being filmed.
Yeah, she's really young. She's she was a child actress. She was in the first Addams Family.
I
Or the
love
second Addams Family movie with Christina Ricci, where she's at camp.
She's the one that they like put an apple in her mouth and tie her to.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh,
Like,
that was her?
Yeah, when they're like, oh, we need someone to play
Wow.
the victim. And she's like, I will. And then Christina Ricci
Yeah.
goes, your whole life. Oh my God.
Yeah.
So funny.
Wow. I had no idea. Oh my gosh.
She also guest stars on an episode of Supernatural where she gets turned into a
Yes.
vampire,
yeah.
and it's so funny.
Yeah, I know.
That's a good
They're
one.
so great. All the Buffy stars that went on to Supernatural just had like iconic roles.
Yeah,
I loved all of their
fantastic.
cameos.
Yeah.
I do like, I mean, this is in Graduation Part 2. I do like how this leads into that. Like, we will be revisiting that loft.
Yeah.
Oh
And
yeah.
I do like the continuation of the scene, even if it's just in Buffy's brain.
Yeah. Yeah. The conversation
That's
she
true.
has with Faith is really interesting. And
Yeah.
everything that happens at the
Foreshadowing.
hospital is fascinating. I love the hospital scenes.
So
Oh,
good.
yeah.
So good. And then, I mean, Graduation Part 2, there's so much good stuff that happens in it
Mhm.
with the actual fight scene. And then, yeah, I mean, I don't want to spoil what we're going to talk about next time, but like, oh my God, I'm
So
so
good.
excited for that episode.
So good.
Oof. That is gonna be fun.
Okay.
I'm trying to think. Yeah, it's gone.
Yeah, that's all right. We'll get it next time. All right. That is the complete end of our show, everybody. Thank you so much for listening. And until next time, I am Penny.
And I'm Sam.
And I'm Kara.
Keep slaying. Kara, it's your turn now.
Son of a bitch. Okay.
I know.
Yeah,
I don't know what it is. No. Like the way my brain logged off, I can't even explain it. That hasn't happened to me in
I'm
years.
looking right at it.
I know.
All right. Whew. Huh. And if you like what... Nope. Okay. I'm starting over. Okay.
All right. I think we should do the Cordelia Xander conversation.
I love
You're gonna
that.
go to 5th period?
Which is also, I mean, senioritis skipping.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh,
It's hilarious.
Oh, we forgot to talk about the classroom and Xander.
Oh, the
and
playing hangman?
Hangman. I love
Oh my
that.
gosh,
They
yeah.
always choose E. Yeah.
Yeah.